we're coming at this from a more elevated level. We're bringing it up into consciousness. We need to understand these things so that we can recognize the truth when we hear it and when we see it.
Yeah.
At any level of truth, we it has to be internally realized before it can be externally understood. And it's what I've been experiencing in these classes, is that we're doing a collaborative thing here. I've got a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge, and I put a lot of pieces together, and that's good. But I think you've probably noticed that many times I come into the class and I don't have a clearly formed idea of what this means, what all this material means, but together we work it out. There's a new etymology, a new way of knowing the truth is emerging now in human beings, and that is, we're going to work it out together. We're not going to listen to what's comes down from on high, because what's coming down from on high is scattered, it's refracted, it's shattered into a million pieces. So we can't rely on that anymore.
Really?
So whatever comes from on high is immediately suspect. So it has to come from within, and we have to work it out together. I'm straddling the two worlds, where I've got a pretty good understanding of the traditional mythology and symbology and the path. But that's one foot, and the other foot is standing on I don't know what, because it hasn't really formed yet. And so what we're discovering is that new things it's popping, things are happening now. We're in a greater time of change than ever, I think, ever. Discovering that as we go, but the indications to me are, given all of what we know about the age of Aquarius and all of that, is that we're moving towards a kind of egalitarianism of, and that's manifesting on the outer. Everybody's interested in making sure that everybody's treated equally and fairly and all of that. I think we're experiencing spiritually the same thing, that we're coming into an egalitarianism. Not that everybody's as good as everybody else, because that's clearly not the case. I mean, some people, have a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience and a good heart and all of that. And those people we should look to. But the egalitarian part is where is the truth coming from? We can't give that responsibility to one person, not a master teacher, especially not a master teacher, because they're the first ones to misuse it, right? We've seen that happen so many times. Now we have like an egalitarianism of responsibility. Everybody is responsible. We can't point to one person and say, oh, it's his fault or her fault, That's like a adolescent or a teenager does with his parents. Nobody can say any longer that, well, he told it and it sounded right. It was the truth. That's not good enough. That no longer works. You have to know it within yourself. The source of your authority has to be within you. You can no longer proxy that to someone else. It's kind of the model that we had in the Holy Order of Mans, because it was a classroom structure where the teacher sat up front and lectured, and the students sat and listened. And then there were questions at the end. But I think part of this transitional period that we're going through now is going to turn that on its head. But when it comes to the future, I don't have a clear vision of the future, no more than you do. Because I don't think even God has a clear vision of the future, because God doesn't work that way. God doesn't know everything before it happens. God's looking to us to see, oh, interesting circumstances you're in. What are you going to do with them? So you see this egalitarian, on the outward, everybody is saying, well, everybody has to have equality or equity, circumstances have to be safe, wealth has to be. No, that's not it. I think that what really this equity, this egalitarianism that we're looking at is everyone is equally responsible. You talk about climate change, everyone is responsible for that. You can't sort your trash and buy an SUV. If you believe in the science of that, then you've got to do it. You have to take on some personal responsibility for everything. because you're here, you know. Nothing is happening in a vacuum. Each person has to stand up and stand on their own 2 feet, because the age of Aquarius is the age of man, meaning men and women, man, capital M, humanity. This is what we're stepping into, and we can kind of figure it out, you know, just from, because by what we know of the mysteries, the mystery teachings, the ancient wisdom teachings, all of these things that have been handed down to us in terms of myth and ritual, you know, institutional ritual even. So we can suss out what, you know, enough information that we can give a reasonable prediction of where we're going. And then if we can do that, we can kind of chart a path for that and start to work that into the way we normally do things. What we have to do now is to collaborate with each other, because it's in this conversation that the truth can emerge. When you have conflicting ideas or conflicting beliefs, they don't just stop. They don't end there. Something pops up out of that. And that's something that we can both see. And it's usually you know, just like it gives birth. Something is born out of that. And it looks exactly like the father and it looks exactly like the mother, but it doesn't look anything like it. You know, it looks like itself. So this is a new way of getting at truth. We're getting rid of essentially what amounts to externals. We can't put all of the authority in external anymore. The authority has to reside within each individual when it comes to truth.